Reba McEntire's name is now nearly synonymous with country music. At 70, the fancy singer is still going strong with 75 million records sold. But nobody becomes a global celebrity overnight. Therefore, it is true that Reba McEntire had to vigorously defend herself in order to be taken seriously at one point. With her first ever No.1 song, Can't Even Get the Blues, the red-headed Oklahoma diva started to reap the rewards of her hard work on this day, January 11, 1983. Three unforgettable one-hit wonders from 1960s TV series. When Reba McEntire signed with Mercury Records in November 1975, she immediately went to work. 2 years later, she released her debut album of the same name. Her career hadn't exactly gone as planned by the early 1980s, when she was preparing for her fifth album, Unlimited. Reba's record label also insisted that she record pop country music almost exclusively. The three-time Grammy winner's personal professional goals didn't exactly align with these tunes. By this time, Reba's professional path had started to change, and she scored a number of top 40 country hits in the early 1980s. The biggest hit of Unlimited's career to date was her lead single, I'm Not That Lonely Yet, which rose to No. 3 on the country charts. The upbeat song, Can't Even Get the Blues, written by Tom Dampier and Rick Carnes, is about a lady who has grown indifferent to the transgressions of her ex-lover. At first, country singer Jackie Ward was being considered for the song. Reba McEntire's producer Jerry Kennedy encouraged her to stick to the more subdued ballads she had previously concentrated on. However, Kennedy eventually gave up after Reba battled with him about Can't Even Get the Blues. It was the last song she recorded for Unlimited, her fifth studio album. Can't Even Get the Blues became Reba's first chart-topping smash, proving that her instincts were correct. The same milestone was later attained by its follow-up song, You're the First Time I've Thought About Leaving. This day in 1983 was the culmination of Reba McEntire's lengthy and convoluted journey to the pinnacle of country music. McEntire achieved her first No.1 success on the country charts with a song that few initially believed in, following years of near misses, label uncertainty, and industry mistrust. Beyond just crowning a success, that moment signaled the beginning of a career that would redefine what it meant to be a female powerhouse in country music. It was a gentle, emotionally restrained ballad about heartbreak so intense that it leaves one numb, called Can't Even Get the Blues. It wasn't ostentatious, it didn't use radio-friendly tricks or vocal acrobatics. Rather, it conveyed a subdued reality that Reba knew deep down but struggled to bring to life in the studio. A career still trying to find its voice. Reba McEntire wasn't an overnight star by the early 1980s. She had already published multiple albums, gotten signed to a major label, and put in a lot of overtime while traveling. She was clearly talented, but her recordings didn't have the same impact on listeners as her live performances. Some in the business privately questioned if she had what it takes to become a leading lady in country music after her early singles failed to break into the top tier of the charts. The genre was dominated at the time by sophisticated production and conventional expectations, particularly for women. Female musicians were frequently restricted to certain positions, such as having pleasant vocals, glitched melodies, and little creative freedom. But inside those lines, Reba was restless. She was aware that she had more to offer than what was being shown to her. Instead of formulas created to accommodate radio trends, she desired authenticity, songs that expressed actual emotional experiences. Can't Even Get the Blues, the song that no one wanted to wager on, wasn't a clear smash. Its hidden concept was that loss was so complete that even sadness had subsided. Executives were uneasy about that kind of emotional understatement. Some believed the song wouldn't catch on with country radio listeners quickly enough since it lacked an explosive chorus or dramatic hook. Reba, however, had faith in it. In the words, she found a rare reality that reflected the way heartbreak frequently plays out in real life. Not all breakups result in sobbing and yelling. Occasionally, it results in emotional fatigue, silent resignation, or the complete lack of emotion. She insisted that the music should be given a chance, despite opposition from her producers and label. It was one of the first times Reba made a creative statement, laying the groundwork for the career she would eventually pursue. Capturing a turning point when the song was eventually recorded, Reba's confidence and sound both changed. Her voice was reserved but powerful, expressing pain without going overboard. She inhabited the song rather than overpowering it. Listeners were able to lean in rather than feel overpowered since the production gave the story room to breathe. This self-control turned into the song's secret weapon. Fans and radio programmers alike started to notice something unique as it rose in the charts in late 1982 and early 1983. This was the debut of a voice that seemed sincere, grounded, and emotionally astute. It wasn't just another country single. Can't Even Get the Blues had been building for years until it finally peaked at #1 in January 1983. For Reba McEntire, the #1 song confirmed her intuition and her steadfastness in sticking to her convictions. The accomplishment also changed the way the industry saw her. She was no longer a budding artist trying to figure out what she wanted to do. She was now a successful hitmaker who could engage audiences on a deep level. It was permission, not simply a milestone, that first no. 1. Permission to select more powerful music. Authorization to raise your voice in the studio. Authorization to base one's career on feelings rather than expectations. The chain reaction of a single courageous decision, the success of Can't Even Get the Blues, nearly instantly altered Reba's professional path. At a period when the genre was gradually rediscovering its origins, she started to lean into more classic country narrative when her confidence was bolstered. She embraced songs that emphasized vulnerability, strength, loss, and resiliency, often from the viewpoint of a woman who had long been marginalized. Reba would go on to amass numerous Grammy Awards, dozens of No. 1 hits, and a reputation as one of the most dependable hitmakers in the history of country music in the years that followed. However, the moment she kept her ground and battled for a song that others questioned is where her entire history began. An important lesson in creative bravery. In retrospect, Reba's first chart-topper narrative teaches us a valuable lesson about artistic bravery. It serves as a reminder that intuition is important, even when it goes against the grain. The reason Can't Even Get the Blues was successful was because it didn't follow trends. It believed that when the audience heard emotional truth, they would be able to identify it. Additionally, Reba's success had wider implications for women in country music. It proved that female artists could and ought to speak up for their artistic perspective. Future generations were able to demand deeper storytelling, better tunes, and more agency in their jobs thanks to her success. The song that continues to touch people, Can't Even Get the Blues, is still a fan favorite decades later, not because it was her biggest hit, but rather because it was her debut. It symbolizes the point at which Reba McEntire began influencing the business rather than attempting to fit in. A song that was originally thought to be too quiet, too delicate, and too dangerous proved everyone wrong on this day in 1983. Not only did it reach the top of the charts, but it also paved the way for one of the most significant careers in country music history.